Hi, Viper Chemistry students. Hey, in Unit 7, Stoichiometry, we have reached the last skill set that we're going to try to master, and that is percent yield. So, in this challenge, what we're really looking at here would be similar to what a chemist goes through when they're actually taking compounds and then reacting them and getting products and then actually determining the actual value of what they get in the lab compared to the theoretical. So that's the whole idea of a percentage is like theoretically, in a chemical reaction, you might produce a certain amount, but then in the lab, you might actually produce a different amount. So let's kind of take a look at that and how do we utilize that skill. So there's a theoretical yield, and again, that's the one that you would think you would get with a given amount of reactant that you start with. And then there's the actual yield that you would get in the experiment. Now, to get a percent, you're just going to take the actual yield value that was determined in the lab divided by the theoretical yield that you theoretically would have gotten. But let's break it down then, and we'll look at a problem. Okay, so you always want to have a balanced chemical equation. Okay, and so then you want to look for in the problem. You want to actually do a mass problem to determine what the theoretical yield would be, and then compare it to the actual yield. So in the problem, you're going to be looking for a value that's kind of listed as the actual yield. And then you're going to do a mass problem to do the theoretical and then compare the two. So let's look at a problem here. Okay, so in this problem, we have calcium carbonate, which is just the only reactant. So this is a decomposition reaction. And so this calcium carbonate is going to decompose after it's heated into calcium oxide and carbon dioxide. Now, we want to know in this problem what's the percent yield if you have a given amount of 60 grams. So that is the reactant. Calcium carbonate is the reactant here, and that's the given amount, the 60 grams. So when you do your mass problem, that's where you're going to start. Then actually going to form 15 grams of calcium oxide. So this is the actual amount. The actual yield, as they say. Okay, so we look at a balanced equation. Is our equation a balance? And it is. So it's a 1 to 1 to 1. So we're good there. Determine the actual yield. Okay. So what we're going to do here is, I guess if we backtrack to here, what is the actual yield is what's given in the problem. So let me point that out. So this is what is formed in this particular reaction according to the problem, and so that becomes the actual yield. Now, to set it all up as a mass problem, we're going to solve for what would be the theoretical yield. Okay, so let's see how we do that. So we start with the given in the reactant, and now we're going to need to know the molar mass of calcium carbonate, and that's this value. So that's our first step in a mass problem, is comparing the mole mass with 1 mole. Here's our mole ratio of the calcium oxide product compared to the calcium carbonate reactant. Here is the molar mass of calcium oxide. And then here is the theoretical value that comes out in the problem. Now, to do the percentage yield, you just simply take the actual yield, which was 15 grams given in the problem, divided by the actual yield that you calculated in the mass problem. Times 100 gives you a percentage. And that's it. Okay, so, here's the last skill that we're learning here in stoichiometry. So at any given time, if you have questions and you're struggling with that, don't hesitate to reach out and we can discuss it. Okay, best of luck to you. Talk to you later.